hello and welcome to the show. It's me, AP, and it's time for JP's product pick of the week. Thank you so much for stopping by. And thanks for stopping by on the right day, because I just was told that I put the wrong day in the title on YouTube and other places. So I fixed that now, and hopefully that doesn't cause too much confusion to all you non-time travelers out there. Thank you. And who am I talking to, you may ask? Well, we've got our excellent Discord right here. So hello to C. Grover, DJ Devon3, Paul Cutler, Jim Hendrickson, Thin Man. Hello, thanks for stopping by. We are streaming all over the place, but the chats that we can check are pretty much YouTube. So hello, Jeff Hunt, Dave Odessa, Zoe Sherry, OJ Thinkster, Devon's Workshop. Thank you for stopping in. And if you're like on Twitch or somewhere and you're like, who's he talking to? Check out our Discord. That's the Discord right there. Hello, Todd Bot. Hello, John J. John, no, J. John, oh, that's John and then John backwards. John Nodge. I like that. Hi, Rufus. So if you want to hop into this chat here, this is our Discord. So you can head on over to adafruit.it. That's our URL shortener, adafruit.it/Discord. And then look for the live broadcast chat channel right there. We have a whole bunch of channels, but that's the place to be during our live streams. Yell at me if my audio goes out, because I notice I have 1 bar of battery left of 3 on the receiver. So that's scary. Do I have an extra set? I do. We'll see what happens. Should I do it now? I'm going to preemptively change batteries. How about that? Let's see. Let's see if these are fresh. Stand by. And we're back with 3 bars of battery health. That's good. I wish that one had like a 5 maybe. A gradient. This could just be a third of the way there. That might be a long time, but I hate when it goes out during the show. All right, so let's get this started. What's happening here? This is the product pick show. I like to pick a brand new product. You can head right there right now. That is the URL. That is the QR code, product ID 5987. You can watch this show inside of that product page right there. So head on over. There's no reason not to. You'll be right there poised to purchase at a discount. We've got today's product pick stashed and now released. We stashed 100 of them. 10 are gone. There's 90 in stock right now. Half price. You can check it out. Before I spill the beans, however, if you really like the drama of it all and the suspense, let's have Lady Ada tell us all about this one, and I'll be back.
A UART to RS232 converter chip. This uses the TI MAX3232. Sorry, 2323. Or maybe it's 3232. I can't remember. 3232. So it's a 2-channel, 2-direction transceiver. You can give it 3 to 5 volts DC, which is nice because the MAX232 only takes 5 volts. It will double the voltage for the V+ line, halve the voltage for the V- line. And then you can have transmit and receive 2 channels. So you can have RX and TX, RTS and CTS. There's a low voltage side, which is 3 or 5 volts. And then the high voltage side, which is again, plus or minus 6 or higher volts. So great for interfacing with older technologies, older laptops, older sensors, barcode scanners, scales, medical equipment, whatever that uses RS232. Especially if they don't have a DE9 or DB9 D-sub connector, you can just wire up directly. So nice little breakout board, makes it really easy to do RS232 interfacing.
Yeah, it does indeed. Let me grab, I realized I put the 2 that I had sitting here both into projects. So I'm going to unplug one of them so I can show you the real deal itself. Let me pluck this from that, and hopefully I'll put that back properly in a moment. That's it right there. That's the product pick this week. It is the RS232 Pal. It's a UART to RS232 breakout. So this offers you all the possibilities to connect your modern microcontrollers that use UART, usually a 3 to 5 volt level, up to RS232 serial gizmos that usually require somewhere between 6 and 10 volts. So it's got the level shifting, it takes in just the 3 to 5 volts and then boosts that up. And it lets you talk to industrial equipment, vintage gear, all sorts of things that use a standard, but older standard, RS232 interface. So often you'll see things with these DB9 cables or DB25 cables that want you to talk serial to them. That's not that hard, but you need something to interface, and this is it right here. This little Pal will do it for you. So first of all, let me put this back into its little spot here. So I'm going to take this, which I've soldered the little the little male header pins onto. There's how I have that pressed into my board there. So here you can see I'm interfacing this with a Feather M4. Pretty much any board that can do UART over a TX, as well as TX RX if you want to receive back messages and echo commands. This will connect. So we've got power on this board coming from the Feather. We've got a shared ground, and then in this case I'm going out of RX and TX on the Feather to RX, or rather R1 and T1 on the UART side of the chip, the low voltage side, and then over here on the high voltage side we're going out on T1, R1 and shared ground to a little breakout for this exact header, this exact DB9 cable that I've got right here. I also, as you can see there, exploded the connection, so hopefully I get these back in the right way. I have another demo set up, so I think they were T1 was the white and R1 was the yellow. That looks like what it was. If it doesn't work, I'll flip them. So let's, before I do the real demo, let's take a look at the product page here. Get me out of the way there. So here you can see it's, like I said, product 5987. Normally $3.95, a pretty good deal for this lovely little chip broken out the way you need it to just plug and play and use. We've got it on discount today at $1.98, so you can pick up a few of those if you want, a handful of these for different types of projects you might encounter. There are also some breakouts for DB9 that might be useful, or other, we have different both male and female DB9 breakouts, DB25 breakouts, so depending on your needs, you might also find sometimes devices want to use a RJ11 type of connector, more of a twisted pair telephone connector, so there's different ways to interface with different devices. This, if you take a look at the link for the Learn Guide, you can see Liz Clark wrote a really nice Learn Guide on this RS232 Pal. Gives you all of the basics, and then we can get to the pinout. This shows you the power ground, voltage plus and minus that you can get off of there as reference. There's actually 2 channels of serial, so depending on your needs, you can run from your microcontroller over to essentially a TX RX and a TX RX2. And then on the high voltage side, same thing. We can output essentially to 2 separate channels of T1, R1. And usually, even though this is a 9-pin connector, the gizmo on the other side probably just wants the TX, RX, and ground. That'll usually cut it for your equipment on the other side, but it can vary. And we've got a couple extra pins on there that you can use for flow control, RTS and CTS. So the Dave Odessa over in the chat says, that's a big TV you have on the workbench. Yeah, I actually pulled a big TV from inside to plug in here. It's an old 2011 Plasma that's actually still kicking and working well. Because I wanted to use the RS232 Pal to control the inputs that are going to that TV via a switcher. So let's jump into that right now, in fact. So I'm gonna show you I'm gonna adjust my camera view actually, one second. So I'm gonna show you a Adafruit I/O dashboard here. Let me fix this camera, and then I'll explain what's going on. So let's see, you should be that view there. Yeah, that'll work, okay. And I'm going to add a little down shot of the gizmo. Is this the one? Actually, that's not the one that's connected up. But yeah, I'll leave this on so you can see this. All right, so there's the adjusted camera view. So what I have going on here, I have a little box over here that is an HDMI switcher. It is a StarTech switcher. It has 4 HDMI inputs, 1 HDMI output. You can control it with a button on top or with an IR remote, but it also has RS-232 serial command interface on it. So you can hook it up to, in this case, the RS232 Pal over UART to a microcontroller. In this case, there's a Feather ESP32S3 over there with Wi-Fi on it, which means I have essentially now made a web-connected version of the interface to that switcher. If I come over to my Adafruit I/O dashboard and hit HDMI 1, it's going to send the command to the switcher to let whatever is plugged into HDMI 1 in this case, it's a Blu-ray player. I can go over to HDMI 2. There's a Super Nintendo. You can probably hear it too. Actually, that's an NES. Over here is a Super Nintendo. And then if I go to HDMI 4, I have a little video synthesizer called an IZ. So this is all happening over serial. And in fact, in order to make it maybe a little less cool, but a little more clear, what I'm going to do is I'm going to replug this Feather I have sitting on the workbench. And let's switch over to this view right here. And now I'm going to take the DB9 cable that I showed you earlier. Let's see. So here is the DB9 to HDMI switcher connection, and then I'll plug in my cable that is connected to the RS232 Pal right there. So again, HDMI over there is going to get a, let me broaden this crop here so you can see that a little better. Okay. So I am now, there we go. I'm now connected via my serial terminal to the Feather in the REPL, and I can send commands to that switcher via serial. So here it says, please enter your command. I'm going to say, let's go to AV input equals 1. Boom, that's going to tell the, oh, is it? Did I get these wrong? I wonder if I plugged those two wrong. Let's try it again once and then I'll, yeah, I think I got those wrong. I'm going to reset, try this one more time, and then I'll swap those cables that came unplugged. AVI equals 1. Oop, okay, so let's switch these out. My bad. That's what I get for forgetting to bring the fresh example. All right. I will, just for thoroughness, give that a little reset and enter your command. Okay, let's try that again, if that works. Aha, okay, I'm plugged in wrong. Okay, so let me explain this again, just so it'll be a little easier on the video later. Let's go to AV1 here. Okay, so what's going on? I have the Feather M4. It's connected via serial over TXRX to the RS232 Pal. That's going to a DB9 adapter, and then I have a DB9 cable running over to the serial input of an HDMI switcher box connecting 4 different gizmos to that TV. So if I go into the REPL here, I can send it serial commands. So I'm going to say AVI equals 2. That's going to switch it to HDMI input 2. Same thing, go to 3. I have a little Super Nintendo plugged in there. And on 4, I have a little Raspberry Pi based video synthesizer plugged into there, just doing some little fun graphic demos over HDMI. And so this is using, as you can see here in code, just simple UART commands. So I'm going via UART over TX, and I'm reading back over RX info over serial through the RS232 interface over to the HDMI switcher box. So you can check out over in the chat. Thank you. Someone posted, DigiDevin3 posted up the, bring up the Discord. links in there to those breakouts that I'm using. So depending on what you're plugging into, we have both the female and the male adapters. I think both for the 9-pin DB9 and 25-pin. We have both of those. So depending on the gizmo that you're trying to plug into, you'll see those types of interfaces. So let's see. Let me know if there's any questions over there. Yeah, I was actually looking at, I can't remember which interface this is. I ran out of time to try to interface with this one right here. Is this the, this might be the 25. Here's an old laptop, sort of. It's a Tandy Model 102, and it has a RS-232C interface here. You would just need an adapter and a null modem, I think, to talk with this thing. But you can talk with, you can treat things like terminal emulators and talk to a lot of old equipment and new equipment even using your RS-232 Pal. I've also got some old professional broadcast monitors which were used in control rooms for film and video, TV control, film duplication and mastering. And all of those, by and large, have RS-232 serial inputs, so you can do things like calibration, change LUTs out, change inputs out, all over serial control. So really useful. If we go back to this example here, you can see this is code from Liz from her Learn Guide on the RS-232 Pal. And you can see here we're using UART-write, and then whatever the name is of the command, and UART-read to get info back. If I do I think if I do a VS, that's the status you can ask for on this one. Sometimes it doesn't seem to give it, and I'm not sure why. But you can look in the manual for your different devices what serial commands they're expecting, and then you have to match baud rates and stop bits and some of those other things. Zoe Sherry says, could this be used to tinker with an old TiVo box? That's a really good question. I'm not sure. I do. I have my oldest TiVo, and I think it does have a serial input. I've noticed a lot of cable boxes have serial input, so there are a lot of devices, especially if you go back 10 years, consumer devices where if they needed service or adjustments at the factory even, they didn't want consumers tinkering with those things, so they will often have an RS-232 input on it, which is unlikely for a consumer to go mess around with. So yeah, here's some nice pictures of our little transceiver here. 2 channels, mentions there, VN Logic 3 to 5 volt. And the chip, as Lady Ada mentioned, is the MAX3232. If you want more info about the chip, you can take a look at the Learn Guide on the last page of the Learn Guide. And by the way, since this is just talking UART, you can use Arduino, you can use CircuitPython, MicroPython, pretty much anything that will send out UART commands, serial UART commands you can use this with. So here is the data sheet on the chip. It's a Texas Instruments MAX3232E, 3 to 5 volt, multi-channel, line driver and receiver. And this tells you some of the applications for industrial PCs, wired networking, data center and enterprise computing, battery-powered systems, notebooks, palm-top PCs, handheld equipment. When I read that, I immediately thought, hey, wait, palm-top? I've got my old Palm 3. I have a couple of these. This is the cool see-through case version. Haven't fired it up in a long time, but it put some batteries in. It works. This had a little proprietary connector at the bottom, but if you put this in the dock, the other end was, I think, a 9-pin serial connector DB9. So potentially you could talk microcontroller to and fro with this, which I've been dying to use for the fact that it has a really good infrared transceiver. So there used to be a really good universal remote app on it, and it might be fun to goof around with that sort of thing and send it serial commands. Who knows? But this is the type of chip you'll want for that kind of tinkering, I think. Let's see, any other questions or comments in the chat? No? Okay, well, let's wrap this up. So let's head back to this view of the world right here. I'll grab this one to show. That right there, that's my product pick of the week this week. It is the RS232 Pal. It is a UART to RS232 breakout board. For Adafruit Industries, I'm John Park. This has been JP's product pick of the week. See you soon.